May 24, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. Around 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is about right here, we see this big green bar. That's where the revised consumer sentiment number came out. And it looks like the market rallied, but it wasn't even that big a move because the total trading range today was about, looked like it was about 45 points, but if you actually look at the regular trading hours on the open, it's closer to about 35. But there was decent volume, but that didn't necessarily translate to a lot of good setups or any setups at all. I took a total of one trade. It was a very early trade. And unfortunately, I lost on it. At the time, I thought it was a good trade, but in hindsight, I saw a couple of things that were wrong, and I think it should have been skipped. And then the rest of the day wasn't too exciting. There was some some swing legs, but they didn't set up properly. So this is what the pre-market looked like. Get in a little tighter to the pre-market range. Okay, so this is what we see. The pre-market, there was this kind of looked like it was a trading range, but I thought potentially there could be a rally because it kind of topped out here. And yesterday, you'll notice it was a really big sell-off. It looked like it was kind of bottoming out and kind of reversing. So I was wondering if it was going to reclaim some of this move back. And as you'll see, it kind of didn't really move that much further back. It did kind of reclaim a little bit. So the first setup I saw was actually in the pre-market, but I don't like to trade the pre-market. It was right here. It was a big push up. Green leg, it's a break. Test made to a new high, came back, made another push up, 2 legs down. And this is where I thought I saw a first entry long visual, second entry long. I like these kinds of setups, and I thought it was a possible trade because the EMA is kind of supporting. It did have a couple of breaks and violations here. This blue trend line doesn't exist yet, but I like that the signal bar, which is this guy, it wasn't the best signal bar, but the next bar becomes the signal bar. It makes a double high, and I like that it ticked one tick below, then it reversed strongly and closed at the high. So it created kind of a triple micro top, and it kind of created a triple test here. So I think on regular trading hours, I may have considered taking this trade because it looks like it's break, 2 legs down, and it could continue back up because I was debating whether there was a larger trading range of some kind, like not trading range, but trend channel of something like this. So I thought this might have been a decent trade. Looks like it would have worked. So now it creates a double top. It seems to be struggling at the pre-market highs. Prices then continue moving down. Okay, it's at this point I drew this trend line, but the trend line didn't really make a very clean trend channel. So this is what I was thinking of at the time. So it made a new high, first entry long pullback, creates a second entry long. I don't really like this setup. Pushes up, comes back down. So here, this is where I saw the new high, first entry long, pullback, second entry long, pullback, and I'm thinking this red candle actually made a higher low, and I'm thinking it's actually starting, and it bounced off this blue trend line. So this is where I thought it was a trade. So I like that it was confirming the second entry long to bounce off the bottom of the trend line, but I enter the trade. So I enter the trade above this original signal bar, looking for a quick 1-point scalp. It kind of stalls and then reverses on me and stops me out. I had my stop below this candle. So I looked at this, and in hindsight, I didn't see this or appreciate it at the time. This was potentially a break of this trend line already right here. So it broke, went back up, and it didn't reach the other side. Now, in this case, I didn't see that. I was thinking it's on its way to hit the other side. The other thing that wasn't going well for this particular setup is this new high, first entry long, second entry long, already made a new high. So to say there's a higher low confirming this isn't even on the proper candle. This is where the higher low was made. The problem with this is it's pressing against the high of day already. So you're asking prices to push up even further, which, can or cannot happen. But there was this previous resistance. So this should have been a signal to me to keep an eye out that this could be a failed breakout and prices could come back down. So if anything, saying it's a higher low, it kind of resets the count. So it's actually here, it's a first entry long, and then this is a new high again. So it would reset the count again. But unfortunately, I was already in on this trade. So this is the one trade that I took, stopped me out, and it's a proper reaction because it wasn't really the best setup. I should have thought it through a little bit more, but I think I was probably jumping on FOMO, trusting this trend line too much, which already should have given me pause because it broke out here. Prices continue moving, chops up, tests the highs again, and it starts pushing down. First entry long here. Technically, you have a second entry long here. You could argue for a triple test here, but it's also not the cleanest. I wanted this ideally to be a green candle. Flashes down, broke out of this yellow channel, tests the new low, makes a second attempt down, starts chopping. And this is where the 7 o'clock revised consumer sentiment number came out. So it flashed up. I'm not going to try to, there was no clean setup. So it would have just been a hunch whether you go long or short. And it easily could have sold off. Prices move up. It gets a little bit noisy. You have a first entry long here. Technically, have a second entry long. It's a little far. I don't like that it's below the EMA. Just not a very clean setup. Nothing to be enthusiastic about. Pops around. It falls into what I think is a range. So I drew this red trading range. And then here I see a new low. Definitely a new low, new localized low. First entry short, pullback, second entry short. So I actually saw this as one big leg up, the break, first entry long, second entry long, potentially a third entry long, but it's in the trading range. So I'm not necessarily looking for second entry shorts, but when presented with this possibility, I thought, okay, do I have a potential failed second entry short? New low, first entry short, second entry short? Yes and no, because here it's at the top of the range. So you're thinking if it's really in a trading range, it's pushing back in. So this could potentially be a failed breakout and prices could be coming right back in. But so you see this is second entry short. It continued down. I'm not thinking short yet because I'm not too keen on this. I want to see what the next candle is. The next candle breaks low, then pushes up. It engulfs this previous candle. Normally, I do like this type of setup where it breaks below and then closes very strongly high. The unfortunate thing is it's in a trading range, or what I think is a trading range. So it feels like it's a little iffy. If I wanted to go long, it's going to hit this localized high here and maybe even push up to here. But it felt like it's a little too risky because I could see it easily having this failed breakout moving back down. So it's a long or it's a short. I can't really honestly say. It's after the fact that I labeled it as a failed second entry short. So it pushes up. It would have given you a scalp, but you don't know that at the time. So this is what I would say an almost trade because I can make an argument to go long and to go short. Prices move up. The orange channel kind of breaks down again. First entry long. Actually, it's first entry long, second entry long count resets. You could say this is a localized new high. First entry long, second entry long, failure, but this wasn't a very clean failure. I just didn't really like it. There is this down channel that you could be playing, but I didn't see this in real time. I didn't read it that way in real time. Prices then continue moving. I drew this weak looking trend channel up. It's only been confirmed by 2 touches, so I don't really trust it as a channel at this point. It moves up on this yellow up channel, breaks out, tries to make a new high. I'm thinking, test the new high, is it going to reverse now? It doesn't, it keeps going. So I find this orange up channel. Looks like it fits pretty well. It's testing here, small little candles, breaks out. Now it's testing the high of this breakout, just waiting for it to play out. Kind of testing new high. I'm looking for a lower high now. You almost get a lower high here, but you don't. You still don't get a lower high because these are all just matching highs. You technically have a lower high here, but it was a very bullish looking trend up. It's one push down, break, and it could be testing the low of this yellow down channel, but I wasn't too sure. This is for its credit a smaller risk 6-tick candle, but I just wasn't. I felt a little congested. I just wasn't quite knowing for sure. I could easily see this reversing to test the highs because this orange channel could have been wider depending on how you drew it. So there was a little room for interpretation because it fits the top really nicely, this orange one. The bottom, it's a touch here, almost touch here, but a touch here. So it could also be here. So this is a break. I wasn't too sure what I was looking at, left it alone. Looked like if I did try to go short, right here, I don't think I would have gotten the fill. It's debatable, and I likely would have gotten stopped out here. So this is more of a hunch to stay out. Price is then moving down. I saw this as a new high. It's the first entry long, second entry long. Potential failed second entry long. Now, what is what I also call an almost trade? There's an EMA rejection, but previously the EMA was acting like support. Then it was a fail breakout. So do I trust the EMA? Not necessarily. I'm not necessarily trusting. I mean, if it was just another key entry point after already a rock solid setup, then it just give you more confidence to take a trade. But in this case, I can't give it too much weighting. But I do see it's a decent signal bar. It's a break of this green down channel. So you're thinking it might want to come and test the lows. So it has that going for it. But I needed the signal bar, this one right here, to actually break below this previous bar because right now it's actually inside the complete size of this one. So it's an inside bar. So I'm not feeling that keen on it. Next candle, when it forms, flushes down. Definitely now I feel it's too late. I don't want to put an entry here, like one tick below, because I feel like the trade's already been moved. The trade's already happened, and I'd be pushing it to the lows here. I don't want to put it right here below the original signal bar because that means this next candle that has yet to print has to pull back, pretty much recover almost this entire move, pick me up. Then I'm asking sellers to come in and then continue downwards. So that is kind of a big ask on this slightly ambiguous, iffy setup. So I felt like, okay, it was an almost trade, had to leave it alone, let it go. Looked like if you did enter one tick below, you would have gotten a fill here and likely probably gotten your quick scalp here. If you're going for more than that, you'd be sitting through this noise and likely your stop would be up here. This candle here, something around here, probably would have stopped you out. When prices continue moving up, goes up on this orange channel. This is where I have a little more confidence in this blue trend line. I didn't really trust it as a channel yet because if you try to match it on the other side, there's a huge overshoot here, or you can drag it all the way to the top. But as you can see, there's this imbalance in this channel because there's a lot of empty space up here. It's better as a support down here. So definitely there's a trend line support here. Whether it's a channel or not, I'm not sure. So I was mainly looking for reasons and trades to go long. Go ahead and zoom in. You have first entry long, pull back, bounces. You have a second entry long here. This is a good signal bar. It's inside, and this follow-up bar isn't that clean. So I didn't like it, didn't mark it. Prices then continue moving. So new low, first entry short, second entry short. Seeing this, nothing is telling me or indicating to me to get a short ready. Then once this forms, the trade's too late. This is a huge flush down. Plus, you're potentially running into a support area here. So nothing to chase here to go short. Looks like it would have worked maybe for a quick scalp, but you don't know that at the time. So I do see a triple test here. So I drew this support and then I made it a range. So I'm wondering if prices are going to come back up to test the high. Here I do see a new low, at least new localized low, because actually the new low is here, or the lowest low is here. So first entry short, second entry short. The second entry short is about to fail. And when it actually does fail, because all within this candle, I thought there's a possible trade here because it's coming from the bottom of a possible range. There's a triple test. It's a strong reversal after moving down 2 ticks. So it opens here, it flushes down. It almost looks like it's bouncing off the EMA, but the EMA isn't really reliable here. Nevertheless, it does have a potential yellow channel up. So it looks like it's bouncing. It has some kind of reaction here. Not a clean bounce, but that's okay. What I do like is it reversed the entire move and closed at the high of the previous. So I think there was a trade here. If you're quick enough, you could probably drop it in at the highs and the close of this candle to reduce your risk instead of having one tick above. And you'd probably be able to at least safely scalp out for 1 point. So it looks like that would have happened. I would have put it here. It's debatable whether I would have gotten filled, but if you did get filled, you definitely would have gotten your at least 1 point scalp, maybe 2. Then this one would have ensured your second point scalp. Then it flushed down. In this kind of setup, I also wouldn't be trying to press to anticipate a move all the way back up to here necessarily. Just kind of take the 1 point quick profit and run. The new high, it's a first entry long, second entry long. Just too many dojis here. It's just congested. It's big tug of war here. I don't like that. Prices then move. It hits the highs of this trading range. So I'm wondering if it's going to ricochet and bounce back down because you do have one leg up, pull back, 2 legs back. So One push up, two small legs back, and then another push up. Made the measure move. It's a good reason to go short here. I mean, not a good reason, a good expectation to go short here, but I need a proper setup. And it flushes down. Bounces again. It makes a kind of like a lower high here, but this isn't a good signal bar, so I kind of left it alone. And again, this follow-up bar flashes down really quickly, but it didn't break below this one, so I definitely wasn't going to chase it. I did like that it closed below the EMA, but again, the EMA isn't very reliable right now because prices are moving both above and below, so not a good enough reason to take the trade. Flushes down, chops. It just gets a little noisy here. You have a new low, first entry short, second entry short. I was considering whether this is a good enough trade. I like that it closed below the EMA, or at least is pushing back down, expecting it to test the low of the bottom of the trading range. But I didn't really just, because the previous price action was just, these aren't dojis except for this one, but this is pretty neutral. This is also pretty neutral, although it's bullish. Then this one reversed it as a sell-off. So I could easily see it push up one. Let me kind of draw out what I was thinking. Push up, break, push up. So I'm thinking there's a possibility, because this red channel doesn't exist yet, maybe it's going to push up, but I could also see it also coming down. It's a little confusing. I could make an argument for both. Maybe not the strongest, but enough to give me pause. Then it flushes down, so it would have worked as a short. Then it breaks out. I do draw this red down channel now because it fit nicely. I found the bottom first, and then the top kind of fit pretty well. So I'm expecting an overshoot, maybe to the other side. The first entry short, you have a second entry short here. Then you have a second entry short confirmed here, second entry short that's failed here. So this is kind of like a ambitious possible trade. So it confirms the failure. What I wasn't too sure of is how strong this red down channel is. If this is a strong resistance, it's going to bounce and push back down. What you do have going for it is there's overshoot here, so you can expect a pretty strong drive through the other side. So I thought it was more leaning toward a possible long trade than a short trade, because I also like that it was, the thing going for it is bouncing off this EMA. It's above, not bouncing off the EMA, bouncing off this bottom support. It's above the EMA. It's a very strong close. Look like it's one push down, second push down. It could be coming back up to kind of at least match here. So it would have been good enough for a 1 point scalp. So it looked like if you did enter, you would have gotten the 1 point scalp. If you're trying to go for two, you'd be sitting in it right now. And likely have gotten the scalp here. Now, if you're following proper trading rules, your stop probably would have been below this candle right here. So you would have survived this trade. Then prices continue moving up. It breaks out, gets a little noisy. It's getting close to the end of the day, and it kind of just pushes into the close. Now, when I looked at the volume for today, it definitely was less than yesterday, but it, even with all that volume, it didn't set up that many proper setups or enough clean setups for me to find that many trades to take. Now, the first trade that I did take, or the first and only trade, it was a red trade. And in hindsight, in real time, I thought I gave too much, I guess, belief, too much respect to this trend line going up. And I think that's what tripped me up, because I just saw this and I said, obviously there's a bounce. So strong, I discounted the previous breakout. Because if this didn't exist, then yes, I think it would have been a good trade and it just didn't work out. But since this does exist, I don't think it was a good trade. I think it was more of an iffy trade. And I was already pressing against the highs of the pre-market, which is this gray line. Yes, it broke through, but I'm also testing and pressing against the high of day, the high of price action that's ever been for the day at that time. So all in all, not the best trade, and follow through didn't really offer too many more opportunities that I thought were, well, were really that great. Maybe this one, and then maybe this one's failed second entry short here. This candle's over here. So hopefully that was helpful. No trading on Monday because it's Memorial Day.